Hello artists, and welcome to Sculpture Level B. Let's get started. So you should have your clay back with you, and it should now be white and hard instead of gray anymore. We call this bisqueware, where it has no color yet. It's just white, it's plain, it's been fired, but it can't turn back into wet clay anymore. It's still breakable, so you'll still need to be careful, but it's now ready to add glaze. So let's see what we're learning today. It says, I can glaze and I can remember not to glaze the bottom. All right, so what I want to do first is talk about what glaze is. So I'm just going to turn you around real fast here, and I'm going to show you on the clay card over here, we have some level B tools with some paintbrushes, and then we have all these colors of glazes on the top. So we're going to grab one here, and I'm just going to talk about what glaze is. So when I open this up, I'm just going to twist, and you'll notice it's labeled the color. But glaze is a color plus sand, okay? Color plus sand. And so it's going to look a little weird to start with. This green is not the final green that it will look like when it's refired in the kiln. But what the glaze does is when sand melts at very high temperatures, it becomes glass. So when this color goes through the kiln again, once it's on your piece and it goes through, your piece will turn colorful, bright, but also glassy. We're going to do a little movie magic here to show you what that looks like. Over by the clay door, in the clay area, there's a poster up on the wall, and these are your glaze colors. So you're going to notice that some of them look very different comparative to what they look like when they're wet. So our green that we were looking at, this is it when it's fired. And you're going to notice that it's kind of glassy looking now. It's kind of shiny, and that's that sand that has turned into glass. So this poster will help you figure out what the colors will look like when it's all done. A little bit more movie magic. All right. So now that I'm ready to glaze, I'm going to go ahead, and if it's not already open, I'm going to go ahead and open it up. I like to put the lid underneath the glaze so I don't get the colors mixed up. Some of them look very like this pink here does not actually look pink. So I need to make sure that that lid stays with it. And then I've got my level B bucket here. I'm going to notice there are some brushes in the water here. They're just soaking. I cannot use those, but I can use the ones in the main area. So I'm going to pick a brush that is a good size for what I'm painting. So I'm going to take a little bit of glaze here, and I'm going to start to kind of dab and swipe the what I'm glazing here. So I'm doing the inside and round bottom of my cupcake here. And what I'm doing is it's kind of like a dab and a swoop. I need enough glaze that it's going to turn the outside brown, but I don't need so much that it's globbing everywhere. So I need to make sure that I'm using enough. And you're going to notice that this dries really quickly if you're putting it on correctly. So I'm just kind of dabbing, globbing. Even on the textured parts, I need to make sure I'm doing that. These brushes that I'm using for it can only be used for glaze. You'll notice that they look a lot rougher than some of our nice paint brushes. These are not nice paint brushes anymore. They can only be used for glaze because the bisqueware has kind of ruined the brushes. And so now they're just good glaze brushes. Now, something I have to remember when I'm glazing is I cannot glaze the bottom. And what I mean by that is I cannot glaze the part that is going to be sitting on a flat surface. So for this bottom of my cupcake here, this part on the bottom here is just, it's going to be sitting like when I put it down on the table. It's the part that's touching the messy mat here. And I cannot glaze that part. I cannot glaze it because when Mrs. Nichols goes to fire your piece again and it turns to this glassy color, if there's glaze on the bottom of it, what will happen is that glaze will melt into the shelf, and then I won't be able to get your piece off the shelf. It will have to stay. So you want to make sure that you do not glaze the parts that are touching the table. Now, if you are like Mrs. Nichols, where look, a little bit accidentally got there, I didn't mean to, then you're gonna take a sponge, they're in the level B bucket, you're gonna get just a little bit of water and you're gonna squeeze because you do not want it to be drippy, okay? It just needs to be just a little damp. And you're gonna take that sponge, and even though this is dry, it will come right off. I'm just going to patiently wipe it with the water, and it's going to come mostly all the way off. It's not going to come off all the way. After I've given it a few different wipes to where it gets a little lighter here, I'm good to go. I don't need to spend a lot of time brushing this. It will leave a little brown mark, but for the most part, this is what, it's okay if it's like that. I can wait till the end to do this. I don't need to do this every time I make a mistake. I can just wait till the end and check the bottom. Now, glaze needs 2 coats. So once this is mostly dry, and you're going to notice it's going to turn chalky, like it's already, the brown is already turning a chalky color. I can see where it's dry and where it's not. But once this is dry, I need to get on a second layer. This way that my piece will be super uber bright and colorful. So I'm going to get on that second coat on this one. And then I'm going to be working on the top here. And I'm going to move this over to the side to show you. And on the top piece here, I've gone ahead and I've done some pink frosting and I've done a red strawberry. And you notice this red does not look the same as what it will turn out when it's all fired again. That red will turn a bright red instead. And the pink will also turn a different color. They'll turn different when it's fired again. But I cannot mix the glaze colors, but I can put glaze on top of glaze. The trick is I have to wait for it to dry first. So I'm going to grab a smaller brush, and I kind of wanted blue sprinkles on my strawberries. So what I've done is now that the pink's all the way dry, I've been adding little blue dots for sprinkles. I cannot just wipe a bunch more glaze on, but I can add little details on top once the base is dry. That way it makes it more interesting. When I'm done with a brush, what I'll need to do is, if everyone is done at my table using that, I'm going to go ahead and just put it in the water. And remember, once I put it in the water, I cannot take it out of the water. I would just need to grab a new dry brush. Happy creating!